Hi everybody, investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen here. We brought you upstairs into the 25 Investigates offices, and joining me is our intern Aaron Schneider, who's been working really hard on a project for quite some time now. So he's going to tell us a little bit more about it. But first, Aaron, tell us where you go to school.
I go to school in Trinity College. It's in Hartford, Connecticut. It's a small liberal arts school.
Okay, and Aaron, all summer essentially, has been working with us on one project. Can you just tell us in a nutshell what you're working on?
Well, what I've been working on is I followed UMass's payroll, salaries.
How did this become something that interested you?
Well, as a college student, it's something that I think should interest all of us. Yeah. Someone who goes to a private school, I personally have to shell out a lot of money just for my education. And it really saddens me that a lot of kids here in Boston who rely on a public education are now having to pay more as well.
Right, and speaking of an education, you kind of had to learn how to dig up this information. What did you use? What tools helped you gather this information about pay in the UMass system?
Well, one thing that really helped is, as we see behind us, it's the comptroller's website. It's called See-Through, and you can track statewide spending, payroll, and basically all facets of governmental spending. In fact, it's this governmental transparency that actually helped me a lot with this story. Great,
great. And then once you gathered this data, you really had to dig in with the spreadsheets and kind of crunch these numbers.
Yeah.
What amount of information are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about lots of information. In Excel, the first time, literally wouldn't let me do all of it in one sheet because it's over millions of cells. It's millions and millions of cells.
I think you showed me where the central office saw some dip in number of people, but we saw the total salary go up a little bit.
Yeah. In the central office is where most of the administration's housed, and these are really where the executives come into play at UMass. And there were some years when the total number of employees in the central office dipped, but the top earners got so high of a raise that it actually managed to, the payroll expanded even
overall,
though the amount of employees was smaller.
Okay, so when Aaron found this information and we kind of teamed up on this, you then started taking this information to people who might care about it. You said you went and talked to some students.
Oh yeah, I went down to UMass Boston and tried to have a conversation with some students about how they were feeling about the most recent tuition hike and about executive pay.
I mean, I don't think that it's fair at all.
I think it's just absurd. I mean, the whole point of this school is to have a low-cost alternative to these extremely expensive schools, and I just don't feel like we're getting the value if we have to continue to pay higher tuition rates.
The tuition has gone up a lot and recently, so I don't think that's fair at all. In the past 3 years, 3 times, that's quick. It's not even spread out.
Okay, we got to hear from some students, but for you, a college student yourself, albeit not at UMass, what was the most surprising thing that you found?
We see that UMass pensions absolutely dominate Massachusetts government pensions. Those are the
What are we looking at here? So what's the highlighted portion?
All the highlighted portions are UMass pensions, and as you see, they float to the top of the stack of data. But what's very interesting about this is where it lists the last position they held before retirement. Almost all of UMass's data remains blank in this section, while other portions of UMass, of Massachusetts government fill in this section because it's very important to pension data.
What's the big takeaway for taxpayers here?
For taxpayers, there are 3 big takeaways. One is that UMass is having an increase in administration. This is seen in the central office. Number 2, executives are being paid more and more every year. And number 3, unfortunately, tuitions are going to keep increasing.
You know, something interesting you found also is this notion that some people are taking buyouts, retiring, and then coming back into the administrative office at UMass. Something we've seen all across Massachusetts, a little bit of double dipping, as they say, also part of what we're going to look into. And Aaron played a huge role in this process, in our investigation. Great job, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you can see the results of his work in our report that's going to be coming up very soon on Boston 25 News.